Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. We're getting an update from LithiumBank, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol LBNK. We are chatting with the chairman and CEO, Robert Shewchuk. Now, LithiumBank is focused at its flagship Boardwalk Lithium Brine project in Western Central Alberta. This project was called Sturgeon Lake, if anybody remembers some of the initial interviews there. We're following up quickly on a news release that came out just yesterday, July 19th. LithiumBank has engaged Hatch to test Boardwalk Lithium Brine with two direct lithium extraction technologies companies. So this is all playing into an upcoming PEA for this project. But Rob, first, just make sense of what needs to happen here. What is Hatch going to do that needs to be fed into this PEA, essentially to prove that this is a viable lithium brine project, please?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. This release is important for us to get that out to the marketplace so that people can understand that we're well into this process. We've been talking about the PEA and delivering that sort of mid-2022. We're looking to deliver that in around the September timeline at this point, and we're really excited to be deep into this test work with Hatch and two extraordinary DLE technologies that Hatch has shortlisted for us. And they show great promise to inform, what we're anticipating to be a very exciting PEA release, as I said, around the September timeline on our flagship Boardwalk asset. And, what's driving our excitement with respect to, Boardwalk brine and these DLE technologies is the fit in terms of water temperature, pH, and brine chemistry, that can drive attractive CapEx and OpEx outcomes in our PEA, and also the speed with which these technologies are moving to pilot scale and will enable us to produce a PFS in 2023. And I think that the fantastic timeline, it will be a competitive timeline with anybody trying to move towards a PFS in the brine project.
Well, Rob, just for people that are not familiar with direct lithium extraction, maybe explain in a general sense how it's different, the way you're approaching it, than how people have traditionally processed brine deposits.
Yeah, obviously there's the hard rock mining spodumene version of lithium production, and then there's the salars in South America. You guys have seen the giant football fields of fresh water from the Amazon, that evaporate over time, and it takes years. The DLE process, all happens in line. And what's super attractive about it is obviously, you're taking a brine from a reservoir, you're effectively just stripping it of whatever minerals you're looking to take out, in this case, lithium and potentially others, and then you're putting that brine back down into that reservoir and recharging that reservoir, and you're not touching the freshwater table at all. And it's a tiny footprint from that perspective. The ESG side of things, it enables the potential to capture your CO2 and then sequester that and put it back down the reservoir. So it's like a really environmentally friendly process. And it's going to be, if there's a bet right now that people are making. I talk to institutions of late multiple times per week, and investment bankers who are representing their clients. And those folks are all thinking the same thing, which is a petrobrine lithium project. If this DLE actually plays out, they understand how transformational that's going to be. Because at the end of the day, if you can prove commercial production using DLE at scale, the ramifications could be that no one's going to be interested in developing another spodumene mine that you can see from the moon, or another salar in South America with those 4 football fields of fresh water, fed by the Amazon, evaporating into the air for no reason.
So then, Rob, in terms of this PEA, that's going to be a major driver for the company here. I understand a lot of data is going into this PEA. What can you tell us in terms of insights of the PEA? What do we need to be looking for? What's important to show within this PEA that sets this project apart from a lot of the other lithium brine projects?
What sets Boardwalk apart from any other petrobrine projects, in our opinion, is a combination of things, which together we believe give Boardwalk the potential to be the best petrobrine asset on the board of petrobrine opportunities globally. And to give you a few of those and summarize them in no particular order, size matters for sure. So at almost 6 million tons, Boardwalk is more than large enough to potentially provide large-scale commercial production for many decades. And frankly, any longer than that, you're not going to get paid for anyway. as is the case in many other large mining projects that have more than 20, 30, 40, 50 years of mine life. You get most of the credit for the first 10, 20 years. And then secondly, grade. Our 4 brine samples that we released not too long ago that were taken by our petro operator at Boardwalk, they're over 6 kilometers apart. So think about that in terms of, that's a massive area that you're covering. And they showed consistent average grade of 73.9 milligrams, which is even higher than the average grade of the best PEA project in the province of Alberta to date, or in the Leduc in general. Number 3, transmusivity. This is a huge one for us. This is where Boardwalk just really, really shines. We're seeing flow rates of as much as 16,000 cubes a day in a well in our project area. That's like 100,000 barrels of brine production per day per well. And that makes it possible for Boardwalk to start at a scale we think that's much greater than previous PEA projects have contemplated. And we believe the thing is large enough to manage the risk of any drawdown of the reservoir that might affect PNG production, even though in our case there's no current producers. So it's like a perfect setup. You have maximum production potential in a reservoir with no other parties at risk. And then fourth, call it chemistry. Very similar chemistry comparable to other PEA projects in the province at Clearwater, for example, but with potential advantages that we're working through. So stay tuned for more on that front as things progress. 5 would be ownership. So Boardwalk's 100% owned by LithiumBank with no freehold landowners in the project area. So therefore, no issues around royalty or requirements or delays or agreements with freehold parties that you would have to deal with as you move your project forward, and obviously can cause the project to take more time. And then 6 would be, the operator side of that equation. So there's only one PNG company in the Boardwalk resource area, which is unbelievable given the size of it and the number of wells there. And even more importantly, all of those wells are currently shut in, versus potentially dozens of, currently producing operators to deal with in other parts of the Leduc. And then 7, I think, is permits. Boardwalk features already permitted locations, drill pads, facilities. Been operational for over 50 years, and that can expedite the process to production dramatically when you don't have to wait for permits, and you can smooth out that permitting process, and that gives us an opportunity to be the first to market with a battery grade lithium product. So when you combine all those sort of 7 factors and consider our PEA is taking into consideration a massive data set that includes more than 80 wells and is an order of magnitude more data underlying any other PEA done on a petrobrine project to date, you can understand why we get excited about where Boardwalk is positioned on the board of the most attractive petrobrine assets, not only in the province of Alberta, but anywhere in the world.
Well, Rob, you've already indicated just how massive the land position is and the number of wells there, but just remind listeners and investors what the size of the resource is currently, what category it's in, and then as you move to the PEA, that's the main focus. You'll also be going after that towards a PFS where you're going to try to jump categories. So just give us a sense of how big the deposit is and what the future plans of the company will be for expanding that.
Yeah, the deposit's 5.97 million tons inferred. So it's in the inferred category. We are doing work to move some of that from inferred to measured and indicated, and that will be an important part of the process moving forward to a PFS because that's required. And in terms of the geographic scale of it, we've talked about that. I think I might have mentioned this, from one of your previous shows, but like Sturgeon Lake at 794,000 acres is the size of the state of Rhode Island. And it's a 100-story building thick, so it's 300 meters of pay. So it's you could fit the Eiffel Tower in it, I like to say, and it's just a massive project.
So then, Rob, what are some of the key catalysts then after this PEA? How do you move this project forward and show that it, again, is different than a lot of these other assets?
Well, one of the big advantages that we have at LithiumBank is our cap structure. So we have 37 million shares outstanding. I think that's one of the best cap tables in the lithium PEA project game. So and on top of that, we have over 5 million in the bank to fully proceed to a PFS in 2023, which is only a year out. which is an extraordinary timeline to move something from a PEA to PFS. Shareholders don't have to wait that long period of time. They generally have to wait to see another revaluation, which is like super critical from an investment point of view. So, that puts us in a position to create shareholder value without the requirement for any dilution. And at 37 million shares, that's a very tight structure. And, we'll take potentially some dilution if it's in strategic in nature. Obviously, Imperial Oil jumped into the E3 project. I think that was a fantastic move for E3. And, we certainly love to see, big oil companies take interest and take a stake in Petrobrines in the Leduc, of which we are one. So, we'll certainly be, considering those types of options. And if we get the right re-rating, perhaps we could raise additional funds to do more work in parallel with multiple projects, because I think that's the other thing that sets us apart is our goal by the end of this year is not just to put out a PEA on Boardwalk, but it's to show you another project that we think we can PEA on a fast track that can leverage all this work that we've done with Hatch, et cetera, and produce a second PEA by the end of 2022 or into early 2023. And that, I think, would give us something in the order of over 10 million tons under PEA and multiple projects. And I don't know any company that can say that.
Well, Rob, that'll be exciting to keep following along to see even a second project start moving through the process. Just really briefly, we were talking offline before we started recording today about one of the other advantages you have, and that's some of the partners you work with. On this PEA, you're going to be doing a lab scale test, and then the natural order of things is as you move to the PFS, it goes to a pilot plant. But you've got some assistance outside of the company to helping you do some of that testing. So maybe just speak to that's another advantage that LithiumBank has here.
Yeah, it's really important for us to bring in the best in the business. We view Hatch as exactly that with respect to the work that they're doing for us for a number of reasons, not the least of which is when you have this massive data set, it allows you to really stand behind it. And if you have over 80 well samples, you're able to take the scrutiny at the PEA level better than anybody previously, can actually do. And then clearly you're trying to move it from a PEA to that next PFS step. And, I think the advantage that you're pointing to is we're not a technology company, right? So we're not defending our own technology through this process. We're taking the word of experts out there at Hatch that know this business, this DLE business. They know who the players are. They know and they understand what a great fit for our brine chemistry is. They've done an excellent job of positioning us that way. And they've positioned us with companies that are already on their own right, moving their technologies through pilot plants, right? So we're going to get to skip a lot of work that other companies who, if they have their own technologies, they put out a PEA and then they have to raise money and they have to position the company and hire and take capital and invest it into those things versus investing it into other projects and things that we get to do with our capital. So that just allows us to be on a fast track on a timeline basis that very few companies could pull off because we're leveraging the work of teams of people in other businesses where it's in their best interest to be first to market with a great process.
All right, Rob, thank you for this update. I'll post a link to that recent news release that came out just yesterday. And look, I know this is a bit of a different story too, moving forward with a lithium brine project, one that is fairly well defined. Now, there is still some key steps that the company is working through, starting with this PEA that is coming up, as you said, around September of this year. If anybody has any follow-up questions or wants more information on any aspect of the company, please email us, either fleck@kereport.com or shad@kereport.com. I'll have Rob back on to follow up on future news and answer any of those questions. Rob, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for this update, and please keep us up to date on future news.
Yeah, you bet, Corey. Appreciate it. One last thing I will add, I think that's important is for your viewers is to understand that no lithium direct brine project has ever had greater than a $50 million market cap pre a PEA, like before the PEA. And more importantly, nor less than $125 million market cap after a successful PEA, even in this market. Okay? With a current market cap at around 25 million, It gives us strong visibility to more than $3 a share if all continues to go well with our PEA. That said, we look forward to a PEA that doesn't just meet the minimum bar, but market leads moving forward on the back of the largest contiguous and most comprehensive direct brine project under PEA in North America, and a goal to have more than one of these premier assets, as I detailed, under PEA by the end of the year or into early 2023.